Hey TV fans, Bored Now back with Rachel McDonald. So on this video it's going to be our season 4 roundup with Buffy, where we're going to list our combined best and worst episodes. So the top 5 and the bottom 5 of the season. Also list our own personal MVPs of the season at the end of the video. Season 4 deep dive, which we did recently. You can find that on the channel. Nice meaty discussion of Buffy season 4. We'll start off with the bottom 5 as always. That seems the way to go. Coming in at number 5, and this was pretty clear cut. I think 5 and 4 were always going to be the least favourite of the season. So number 5 is the god awful, super cringe, super cheesy Beer Bad. Talked about this. We talked about the infantile mind of the writer Tracy Ford, who contributed 3 episodes this season, and funnily enough, one of the other 3 he did a script for also is on this bottom 5 list. But Beer Bad, for me, the gimmick caveman Buffy never really worked. I never even found it that amusing.
No.
And it's a really cringe, really dumb episode to watch. Sanders treated like awfully in the episode. That's really tough to watch. The standout scene, as we both agreed, is the Willow Parker scene, and the way Willow gets the better of Parker in that scene. That is a standout. And there's the odd funny line, of course, as you normally get in any Buffy episodes, but it's pretty much trash. It's like the bottom of the barrel when it comes
really
to
is.
the show.
And I think most fans would agree with it. I mean, this has never been a popular episode, and I think anyone who does like it would list it as like a guilty pleasure. But I think it's just one of those ones where the metaphor that they went for was just way too broad and way too on the nose. Like, okay, alcohol turns you into cavemen, blah, blah, blah. You know, alcohol makes you lose your inhibitions and makes you act stupid. It's like, yeah, we get it. Like, this was just a really dumb metaphor. And like you said, the caveman stuff just doesn't work. It comes across as cringy and not really that funny. I mean, but I think Cave Woman Buffy has a couple of like funny moments, but aside from that, it's just really not great. And as we talked about in our review, it's surprisingly anti-alcohol for a show that is currently set in college. You know, it doesn't really ring true. Like, I'm not saying they need to have the characters running around getting drunk every single episode, but these are college-age kids in a college environment who are going to college parties. Like, what did you think they were going to do? Drink soda the whole night? I don't think so. So, yeah, Beer Bad just in its entirety, absolutely terrible. Like Keith said, we got a couple of highlights, but overall, just a really bad metaphor and just really lazy writing. And it's absolutely hilarious that this episode, of all episodes, was nominated for an Emmy. Would you like to know what it was nominated for?
Was it hair and makeup?
Hair design.
I have heard this. Oh, that's hilarious. No,
brilliant.
But I suppose that does make the episode worthwhile alone.
Yeah.
He's back. Tracy Forbes also wrote this beauty, which is Where the Wild Things Are. Now, it's very close between the two for the bottom. Where the Wild Things Are, like Beer Bad, has a really dumb gimmick. All Buffy's ever been in any episodes.
So true. So true. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't help that her and Riley have very little chemistry, in my opinion, but just the idea of them just spending the whole episode like shagging, it's just so infantile. Like it's not even that interesting to like watch, and then like it could be improved upon if the stuff at the party and the overall gimmick around them was more interesting, but it's just not. You've got like the orgasm wall. The
orgasm wall. Who wrote that? That was terrible. Oh my god, so bad.
Yeah, it's really messy writing throughout because it feels like really cobbled together, like the whole trying to link the stuff with the Catherine Juster character and her thing and
she is absolutely wasted. I mean, Catherine Juster, such a great actress, such a great character actress, and they just waste her in this episode. It's like, really, you had Catherine Juster, and that's what you did with her? Yeah, it's crap.
With stuff, him.
Yes.
Suddenly, in the run-up to the episode, he'd been anti-Buffy and not really on board with her and Riley, and then then he seems
Suddenly
to be more accepting.
Yeah.
And they're at a party. I can't imagine he would be happy with Buffy at a party.
Xander and Anya get into this weird fight, which doesn't really go anywhere or produce anything. And yeah, just the entire episode is just really infantile. Like we said, the orgasm wall is one of the dumbest concepts I think Buffy has ever done. And I cannot get over that. And just this idea, like I think I spoke about this when we did our review. It feels like they're trying to go for like a poltergeist angle, because poltergeists generally, usually speaking, are born from some sort of sexual trauma or repressed sexuality or something like that. They're very often cited as being girls when they go through puberty can produce poltergeists. And so I feel like they were trying to do that, but like it just didn't work. It didn't work at all. The ghosts kind of fell flat. Any appearance by the ghost that was supposed to be like scary just didn't really work. And the whole episode just, I mean, the last one, when we did our rewatch, I just sat there laughing and going, who wrote this? And who sat down and filmed it? And then who edited it and said, yes, we're going to put this on TV for people to watch? It was just so many steps that could have prevented this episode or at least made it better. And they ignored every single one. So I think this and Beer Bad are so close to being the bottom episodes. Like it's barely like a tiny inch between them of which one's worse.
Yeah, it's a bit of a slog as well, like, and I think that's the only reason I might consider this as worse than Beer Bad, is because Beer Bad, you could argue, at least has some goofy fun. This doesn't really have that. I think this was a bit more of a bland and a bit more of a slog as an episode, but it's very close. I think Beer Bad is just so cheesy and stupid. That's why overall we're giving it to that one. After that, it's kind of interesting because season 4, the standard is pretty high. So I think the next 3 are not what you would call like bad episodes, like outright bad. They're just a little bit more in the mediocre territory. We're going in the wrong order, aren't we?
We usually go least worst to most worst, but this time we started from the other way. That's all right. Yeah. Everyone's on board.
Because I'm looking at it, I was like, what the fuck? Okay, so we'll make sure we go in the right order when we get to the next one.
That's all right.
I think it's because I might have written them down. Okay, never mind. Okay, so we'll just continue on. So number 3 is Doom, which we didn't talk much about when we did the review, and the reason we didn't talk much about it is because it's a really forgettable episode. There's not much to talk
about. Yeah,
they retread the like end of the world plot, which I thought was a bit lame considering they've done it at least twice, maybe 3 times up to now in the show, and each time it felt more meaningful than in this, because I quite enjoy what they were going for when they did it in the Zeppo, because that's
that worked, but that worked to offset Xander's storyline and to show him missing out on the action. That worked, whereas this just feels, I don't even know, it's like they were out of ideas that week, so they just went, hey, let's just put in an apocalypse and have them be the end of the world, you know? And it's just partly
so that they can go back to high school. Yeah, it is forgettable. Like, the Spike stuff is the best, but, like, apart from that, like, it's not terrible. It's definitely not terrible, but it's in the mediocre.
I think it's just a bit of a blah episode, and it's very easy to skip it on rewatches and just, forget about it, because the Spike stuff is funny. Like, this does have the scene where he does try to kill himself, which is hilarious, and Willow and Xander come in to try and stop him, and of course, him wearing Xander's clothes is a funny gag that we get to see throughout the season, but, I mean, that's such a small part of the episode. Oh, and of course, you do get the revelation at the end of this episode that Spike can hit a demon, so the end of the episode is quite funny, with Spike being like, let's get out there and kill, save bunnies and people and kids. Let's kill some things. That part's amusing. But the rest of the episode is just so forgettable, I think. And I think that's the issue with Doomed. It's just, it has that, it does that thing that we always say is really bad in like horror movies. It's boring, it's not bad. It's just boring, and you just don't really get much out of this episode. So again, mediocre, not terrible. You wouldn't put it in the same category as Beer Bad or Where the Wild Things Are, but it's just very blah. And like I said, very easy to skip this episode on rewatches.
Yeah, so before we do skip over it to the next one, let me just add one more thing. Screw you, Percy, because you're terrible in that
Damn
episode.
you, Percy. Willow should have kicked you in the nads.
What a loser.
I know, right?
She's got way more going for her than that girl he was hanging out with.
Absolutely. Like, Percy, you wouldn't have made it out of high school without Willow. Show some gratitude, or she'll kick your ass again. Mm-hmm. Are we remembering that?
Yeah, don't mess with Willow.
Yeah.
So, number 4 is Goodbye, Idaho.
Yeah. Bit of a Riley-centered episode, but I think both of us kind of went, Mark Blucas, unfortunately, doesn't quite have the dramatic chops to pull off the arc that Riley's going through. This is obviously a follow-on from the Iron Team, which we both agreed was a bit better because you've got some great Buffy moments and the reveal of the Initiative and Adam. But Goodbye, Iowa, I mean, I'm even struggling to really remember what happens in that episode, aside from Riley going a bit nutso, because... yeah, it's basically just the fallout from the previous episode, and I think Mark Blucas, I think we agreed that in the bar he's at his best,
bad.
and he's not too bad there. Yeah, but the rest of the episode is, and I think also because Riley is not a character that we are particularly invested in either, so to have a whole episode centered around him, it just gets a bit like, why are we here? Why do we care? We're not really invested in Riley, and I guess someone who might like the character more, if there are such people, might enjoy the episode a bit more, but I mean, that's where we landed. I think it was just a bit of an underwhelming episode.
Guy and team, I think there was more with the Scoobies.
Yes,
stuff.
yeah.
And a bit more enjoyable. And you had obviously the cliffhanger with what happened to Maggie at the end.
Yeah.
Talk about that weird sex scene moment in that neither. When Maggie's spying on them.
Yeah, God, that's creepy. And I remember just thinking this is Buffy's first really positive sex experience, and even this is ruined by the fact. I mean, she doesn't know, but she's being watched.
But even so
creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yuck. There's that too.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to. I mean, since we've gone in the wrong order, this is probably the best of these.
The best of the worst.
Yeah, because I did say we were talking about it, and we agreed that the standard overall was so high that really we've gone with Superstar for number 5, and that's an episode which we both think is fine. I enjoy it more than Rachel, actually. I do tend to have a good time when I put this one on, but I agree that by the standard of season 4, it probably is a slightly lesser episode.
Yeah.
But good showcase for Danny Strong, some good meta humour. They go to town on it. They do some really great in-jokes, but yeah. Overall, it's just not one of the best episodes.
Just not one of the best. Season 4, Keith and I were talking off screen, and we basically came to the conclusion that even though season 4, the arc itself is not that strong, the Initiative and Adam, it actually has some of the strongest episodes. The individual episodes are really well written, and the standard is so high, which is why off our top 5 worst episodes, there's really only 2 that we would say are truly bad episodes, and those are Beer Bad and Where the Wild Things Are. Superstar, for me, I think the gimmick wears off a little bit towards, the middle, after about halfway through the episode, I start to get a little bit fatigued, and it's okay, come on, let's just get things back to the status quo. I mean, that being said, it does have some funny images. I talked about this in our deep dive. I absolutely love the image of little Jonathan standing with all of the commando dudes. I think that is one of the funniest visuals in the show. And like I said again in our deep dive, I think this episode was important for world building because it shows what magic can do and how a spell can alter everyone's memories. And that's very important for when we reach season 5 and the spell that works there. So I do think that as far as world building goes, this episode serves that purpose. But like I said, the gimmick for me does it does get a little bit wearing as the episode goes on. And I think the fact that after this episode, Jonathan, the next time we see him, he still hasn't learned his lesson, then kind of undoes a little bit of that end talk that Buffy has with him. But as Keith said, this is an episode that's still a decent episode. It's just that the standard of writing in season 4 is so high that it just doesn't measure up to a lot of the other episodes that are in this season. So that's why it's a controversial choice, because I know that this is a fan favorite in certain circles, but we just came to the conclusion that it's just not as good as the other ones. Just in a season of fantastic episodes, it's hard to find the ones that are the weaker ones. So some episodes got to fill the spot.
Harder than the top 5, which we'll now move on to. So I'll do it in the right order this time. So we're starting at number 5, working our way up. So at number 5 is another really strong Halloween-style episode, Halloween-themed episode, is Fear itself.
Yeah.
Which is a great example of how to do the sort of haunted house style gimmick, and some great personality once again with the costumes and the premise of them and their fears, their worst fears coming back to haunt them, is really nicely done. Some iconic moments, like with the chainsaw and Giles, Anna and her bunny fetish, or fear, if you like.
Fear, rather.
Yeah, I guess fear. Yeah, and then obviously Gatna, which is fantastic.
Absolutely great. I think this episode's also got some really creepy bits, like with the haunted house, when it is actually, turning into a bit of a madhouse. It's got a couple of shots that are genuinely chilling. I think it really shows the fears very well. I love the reveal that Xander has suddenly turned invisible, because you don't realize it for a few seconds. Like, he's interacting with them and you think that they're just ignoring him on purpose, and then you realize Buffy's like, Xander, where did he go? And you realize, oh my God, she literally can't see him. So I thought that was a little fun reveal. And yeah, just the costumes. We talked about loving seeing Giles in the sombrero, and the little interaction he has with Buffy, and how we see how he's still dealing with his unemployment. Like you said, Anya in her bunny suit is fantastic. And again, it's just another little deep dive into the characters and seeing where they are at this point in time. And even though I know that you're not a massive fan of nightmares, it is interesting, I think, to have a look at their fears from nightmares versus their fears now, to see how they've changed as people and how their fears have evolved and changed to suit their situations. Oz's fear in particular, I think, is done really well when he starts to wolf out. That's a particularly poignant and intense moment for Oz. And then, the climax is just fantastic. The beautiful misdirection where you see everything shaking and you see the lights and Gaknar's arriving, and then he's like this big, and it's just, brilliant. And of course, I love the ending with the inscription. I should have read. Why? What does it say? Actual size. And I just, that's a great way to end it. So a very solid Halloween episode. And Buffy and Halloween, they just kind of go together. The theme,
they work well.
The show. Yeah. So that's why I think the Halloween episodes are always pretty good. So Fear itself, definitely a great episode, and really one of the best ones, like we said, for this season.
Seth Green does some great acting this season.
Absolutely.
I think in this episode, him looking terrified is really effective.
I agree.
And some of the stuff when he returns in New Moon Rising, I think he's very good in that as well.
Yeah, actually give
we actually see a bit more dramatic side.
Emotion. Yes, we actually get to see Oz express emotions and actually have conflict and turmoil, which he doesn't really have in seasons 2 and 3.
Number 4 is the very entertaining Thanksgiving themed episode. The only one they've done on the show, actually, but they really make it count, and that is Pangs.
Fantastic episode. Just a great episode. I think Pangs is one of those episodes that grows on people, because I remember when I was younger, I didn't really love it that much. And as I've gotten older, I've just really come to appreciate it. I think, the appearance by Angel is fantastic. We get our first kind of little crossover, especially since everyone keeps insisting that he's evil again, and he's getting really upset, He's like, I haven't been evil for a very long time. You have the start of Spike as the, the enemy within. This is the first time he comes to the Scoobies to say that he's been neutered. And I just think Buffy trying to make this perfect Thanksgiving while all of this crap is going on around her is a great little running gag. Poor Xander with his syphilis. And of course, we have one of the best lines in season 4. A bear? You made a bear! I didn't mean to! Undo it! Just absolutely brilliant. So absolutely love Pangs. Such a great episode.
It never gets old, that line, and the episode just has so many great scenes, and the ongoing conversation over Native Americans and the merits of the holiday is just fantastic, and has some entertaining lines in it, and just wonderful all the way through. I think it's a really fun and consistent episode, packed with great character moments. We even said, like, that scene with them on the bikes is really...
Yes, the bicycle scene.
That's a gem of the scene as well. That's so fun. So good.
Yeah. And you go.
No, I was just going to say, it is a good way to use Angel without him, as a cameo, without him feeling like he's sort of dominating the episode too much.
I agree.
It's a good way to handle like a crossover style episode, and it doesn't break the character because it makes a lot of sense. And
it's 100%.
Keeping an eye on Buffy without he doesn't want her.
Angel's doing his Edward Cullen routine, which I'm never fond of, but unfortunately is part of his character. So he's
on this occasion, a lot of times it would come off as creepy, but on this occasion, I think it works.
Love the fact that Buffy can feel him when he's not there. That's always actually been part of her character, that she can sense Angel when he's not, when she can't see him. And so I love all those little moments where you see her like looking out the window, you know, because she can sense that there's some sort of presence there. And I think that's a great way to have her aware of Angel's presence without actually having to have them, you know, interact and make the episode a Bangel episode, which is not obviously what they wanted to do. So, yeah, I think they really did his cameo very, very well. And it was fun to see David back and to see him interact with the cast. And I love Anya's, you know, this is Angel. He's tall and glowery. That's a great way to describe him. So, yeah, I think Pangs is one of those underrated episodes that just grows on you as you watch, and just, I think it just gets better and better every time you watch it. Just so funny and so entertaining. Just a really well-written episode, I think.
Number 3 is the first part of that big faith-centric two-parter. It is just his girl, and like, she makes one hell of a splash returning. They handle her return very well. There's some truly creepy, like, unnerving scenes in it, in the hospital in particular. The dream sequences are very well done. Nice to see the mayor have a little cameo again in season 4. As I said, I really like the stuff with him doing the stuff on the video, and Faith just watching, and like him almost from the grave doing this and making her laugh again. But the whole message and the whole intrigue over what's that device going to do, which is given her. So good stuff. Really strong episode.
And, you know, definitely an episode that was needed, because Faith's storyline was left very much up in the air. And I think that, you know, by bringing her back in this, it opened up that path to turn her into one of the best characters, you know, in the universe. She goes on to have an incredible arc over Buffy and Angel, and it all starts here. And I talked about this in our review. I really like that this episode just shows you how far Faith has gone. Like, she's woken up to a world where she doesn't have anyone in her corner anymore. The one person who was there for her is gone. Everyone's moved on without her. So you really see her hit rock bottom in this and the next episode. And I think that Eliza does a really good job in this episode of just showing Faith's confusion and vulnerability, but also the way she hides it behind her violence and, you know, her outward aggression. And of course, you have that fantastic ending where we do finally realize what the device has done. And we know that, oh my God, we're in for a bit of a ride the next episode with the Faith and Buffy body swap. So I just think that this year's Girl just really sets up Faith's arc and where she's going to go from here on to Angel so well. And it's really nice to see Eliza back, and like you said, to see Harry Groening back. The dreams where Buffy is the monster and Faith is the victim are such an interesting perspective to see how Faith views their relationship and how she can't wake up until she, you know, beats Buffy. And I just think there's a lot of really good character work in this year's Girl. And I think everyone was happy to see Faith back. I mean, she's such a fan favorite, and you know, bringing Eliza back to kind of wrap that up on Buffy was really great. So another fantastic episode in a season that's full of them.
With Joyce is really good as well, as we said, and I sort of feel like really these 2 episodes on Buffy and then the 2-parter we get on Angel with Faith is that sort of her real descent into like this is full on villain faith and the worst stuff she has ever done. So
yes, absolutely.
that then makes it possible to then build to her redemption sort of thing. So this is where she hits the limit, where it's almost like the point of no return, but then that makes her redemption all the more satisfying later.
Absolutely.
Number 2, this was quite close as well, but our number 2, we've gone for the very dreamlike, the very experimental, but really enjoyable season finale, which is Restless. An episode which, when I first saw it, I didn't really like it that much. I didn't really get into it. I think it is a grower.
Yes.
But it's a really fun idea, like them just having a video night, and it's a nice sort of come down after the finale, but then you get the whole gimmick of them all having nightmares or all having like these weird sort of dreams. And it turns out the whole reason behind it to do with the spell they did to defeat Adam previously, and we get the introduction of the first Slayer, which is good because that's something they're going to return to in season 5 as well. So that makes a lot of sense. But so much fun with the various dreams, and really stylistic and some interesting meaty stuff.
All the different visuals are fantastic. Willow's dream has a very Lynch feel with the red curtains and all of the soft lighting. Xander's is obviously taken from Apocalypse Now, and as Keith said, some of the shots in this are actually better than the shots in the actual movie. Oh, and Snyder's are much better Kurtz than Brando is. And you know, I love Buffy's dream as well, with the desert landscape and meeting the first Slayer, and of course. Every single dream sequence is just ripe with symbolism and meta, and there's so much, what's what I'm looking for, so much to interpret in these dreams, so much analysis that you can do just to see where the characters are, you know, in their journeys, how they view themselves. You know, we get hints of Willow still being scared that her college persona is going to be ripped away. Xander is scared of being left behind by his friends, and of course the abusive situation he's in at home. Buffy's scared of the source of her power, and Giles is just trying to figure out what's going on. And like I pointed out, there is some interesting stuff with Olivia in Giles's dream that I think could be hinting at maybe Giles wanting to move away and start a family. But however you interpret them, the dreams in Restless are just, they're fantastic. And what I really love about Restless, the dreams in Restless, is they play out the way dreams actually do. You know, you move from like, you know, like Willow will open a door from her bedroom and suddenly be on a stage, you know, stuff like that. And that's how dreams work in real life. So I think that this is one of the few episodes that really captures what it is like to dream, and how your dreams are just random and weird things pop up. And obviously that's why we have the Cheese Man, you know, because that's what happens in dreams. You might suddenly have a dancing hippo in a tutu in your dream, and you have no idea why unless you watch Fantasia that day. So, you know, it's just, I think it's and again, I agree with you, it's a bit of a grower, especially if you're watching Buffy for the first time. And, you know, you come to the season finale and you're like, oh, this is, like, I think the first time I watched Restless, I didn't realize it was the season finale. I thought it was just another episode. And when I realized it was the finale, I was like, that is so weird. But once you watch it over and over and you start to see all the layers to it, it's just a really fantastic character study, Restless. And I mean, I said this in our review, but I feel like we could probably, if we wanted to, sit down and do an entire video just on Restless and all the symbolism in it and everything that you can interpret in the dreams. So just a really fantastic episode.
Yeah, because also this season, the rewatch, like, I think we both gained more appreciation for Primeval as well, the episode
yes,
before.
We did,
so I guess if that was the finale, we wouldn't have complained, but it's just fun having a bit of a different style finale as well. Number 1, which is my number 1 on my big list at the moment, and that is Hush. Once again,
it was never going to be anything else.
Not really, no. Once again, like you said it off air, it feels like a very Buffy episode with a lot of the humour, a lot of the character moments, a lot of the images. But at the same time, it shakes up the format a bit as well to do a unique high concept episode. And Those are some of the best Buffy episodes where you get the classic Buffy stuff, but alongside it you get something just a little bit different where they're just shaking up the format. Spooky and atmospheric, it's very scary. The gentlemen are terrifying at times. Great villains, some great like special effects, makeup stuff with them, and just the movement and their whole style. The window scene with Olivia, is a great jump scare.
Yeah, fantastic.
Chilling. And the auditorium scene is just so great as well. That's a great example of what they're doing in the episode. And just the themes, as we said, the themes to do with communication. We didn't talk about it, but I really like the opening, actually, the dream that Buffy has.
Yes. I like that too. I think it sets the mood for the episode very well. Yeah. And I also, when we went into this night deep dive, but I absolutely love how, every character is still in character without their voice. You have Anya sitting there with popcorn and Buffy doing her stupid movements that everyone's like, what the hell? And Willow trying to be all helpful. I love when she pulls the CD out and she's like,
yeah.
So just great. Like I said, and the horror is really good. Like when Buffy does stray back into, because unfortunately, I think season 3 and season 4 started to move a little bit away from the horror. Season 1 was very 90s horror, and season 2 was gothic horror. But then we started to move into more monster territory. So it was kind of nice to have a bit of a return to form with the gentlemen being such great villains. You talked about the makeup. A little fun tidbit that I read was that they had to keep the gentlemen in makeup the whole time, so they'd be walking around the cafeteria and stuff and eating, and apparently everyone was too scared to kind of go near them because they just looked so creepy. And of course they're led by the wonderful Doug Jones, who just absolutely fantastic actor. And Hush is, it's just one of those episodes that is just so fantastic. You just really can't fault it. The direction is superb. The writing is just absolutely chef's kiss. Like you said, the themes are great about communication, but also about how words can get in the way of communication. How sometimes when you take away words, all you have left are actions. And it's just a really great, just scary, atmospheric, really fun episode. And TV these days now does all sorts of crazy stuff. But what we have to remember, this was back in 2000. TV didn't do things like this in 2000. It didn't do entire episodes in silence. So this was very groundbreaking, and I think definitely helped to set the stage for what TV could become in the later years and what you could do with episodes, and especially with genre TV, where you can play around a lot. I think Hush was definitely a forefront in episodes that then went on to build onto the golden age of TV and to show what could be done on television, because it is almost cinematic. Hush, it's a big, we really involve the whole town, the watchtower with the clock tower and everything. It feels quite cinematic. So I think it was never going to be any other option. I think anyone who reviews Buffy season 4 and picks a top episode, it has to be Hush, and the only episode that could possibly come close is Restless, which we have second. So just a fantastic episode all up. And like you said, you currently have it at the top of your episode list. So that right there is a good indication.
It'll take some beating as well.
Yes.
It's these actors are really good, because I think a lot of times to physical acting and mannerisms and stuff, that is the highest form of acting in many ways, when you don't have the dialogue. And that's almost like an appreciation for silent cinema, where they had to do that all the time anyway. But let us know some of yours in the comments and what you think of our list. So we move on to MVPs, where we each come up with our own, we don't do this joint. So who would your MVP be for season 4? All right.
So before I list who I'm going to have as my MVP, I'm going to give a shout out to a character that I don't normally give shout outs to. And I'm going to do this before we go into seasons 5, 6, and 7, where I'm going to have nothing but negativity. I would like to give a shout out to Spike, because I actually think this season on Buffy is one of his best, because like I said in our reviews, I like the fact that this isn't in love with Buffy trailing around after the Scooby Spike. This is Spike, who definitely still wants to cause chaos and is definitely still a bad guy, but is somewhat hindered by the chip. So I think that he works really well as comedic relief this season. And they're not trying to convince me that he's a good guy or anything like that. He's just there as like the enemy within. So I do think that Spike is actually just a lot of fun this season because they've used him in, I think, the best way you should use Spike, which is as this antagonistic kind of asshole that's just always there and always kind of messing things up. However, I'm going to give MVP to our beautiful Buffy Summers because I think she really comes back into her own this season. And I think she has a really great arc this season because, and we talked about this in our deep dive, when you see her in the very first episode in The Freshman, you have that great big zoom into her just looking so lost in the crowd of people. And then she goes from that to all the way that she's getting good marks academically. She's being asked to lead talks in classes. She's taking down the initiative. That moment, the you don't know what a Slayer is moment, trust me, when you're going to find out, it's fantastic. I love seeing her in the initiative and like taking them on and dismantling them. And then I love at the end when they go to take down Adam and she says to the initiative guys, she's like, I'm the Slayer, you're playing on my turf. And they actually, you know, let her go. So I think that because Buffy starts the season so like diminished and like not sure where she is, and then she ends the season so confidently, I love seeing that growth, so that to see her become comfortable as a college girl. Obviously she has that whole thing with Parker that she has to overcome, and I think that they give her a lot to work with this season. And again, especially because the previous season was such an intense season for her, you know, she had to deal out with the fallout of Angelus, she had to deal with Faith, she had to deal with Angel breaking up with her, whereas this season it seems like her trials are a little bit softer and a little bit easier, and I think that's why she regains her confidence. So special shout out to Spike. I almost considered listing him, like I really did, which is so odd for me because we all know how I feel about the character. But Buffy, this time around watching, I have come to love her so much, and I just really loved her arc in this season. So she is my MVP, with a special little shout out to Spike before we go into the bad Spike territory. How about you?
Spike, I would probably say, is a runner-up. I think Giles has a really good season. I love a lot of his Man of Leisure stuff, as we said, and some great scenes with Spike as well. I also like the direction of Xander this season. I think his story's a lot of fun and some great like development for him. But for me, it's quite easy. I'm going with Willow.
I get that. Yeah, she's got a great arc this season as well.
Yeah, so I think I'm going with her because this is the character at its peak this season. This is where she's gone on that growth over the seasons, and there's still a little bit of growth to come as well, but I think this is definitely at the peak now where you can see that big spectrum between who she is this season and who she is at the start of the show, where just to see her more confident than Buffy at the start of this season, to see her loving college life and really embracing it and being confident, to see her actually giving romantic advice to Buffy is so great to see. But a bit like Buffy, like you said with Buffy, like Willow definitely has ups and downs this season. There's some high emotions. We said that Alison Hannigan in like Wild at Heart really knocks it out of the park, and it shows. Just then she can do the drama as well as the quirky comedy stuff. She's really convincing in that episode, and definitely some good growth with her getting more into the magic this season. Her like that manifesting with some of her rage and some of her hurt, then sometimes she turns to the spells a bit too easily, and that starts that type trend. But the magic stuff definitely adds some new elements to her character, which I really enjoy. And there's some good drama with her and Oz. There's some good drama with her and Tara, who have a solid start as a couple on the show, I think. And yeah, just some great stuff with Willow in some of the best episodes. So, personally, I know you're not a fan of the scene, but I do like the scene with Spike in the initiative. And I think as a character beat, it's at least a good character beat.
That's true. Yes.
Then she is supportive towards Spike. Then she has that
That is very in character for Willow. Like, I definitely get it. I think it's just the initial attack that makes me uncomfortable, and then it just kind of hangs around. But it is a great scene, and Allison is really selling the comedy in that scene, I think. And I think James is a little bit like Eliza. He tends to have good chemistry with most of the cast, so you put him with almost anyone, and it will kind of work. So I do understand why you like that scene. I just have personal reasons for finding it a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, but also not just that. I think just later on in other episodes, the fact that she's the one who's the least likely to say, yeah, just dust him, and like she does see then the principle of it's not right to kill almost a defenseless animal, even though it is like, it reminds me a little bit of like Fred at the start of Angel season 5. With
I get
like that stuff as well. Quirky Willow fun, some great lines of dialogue. Her in Fear itself and the costume is a lot of fun. And so really strong. I think just the fact that you get to see the character at its peak this season, and then Hannigan gets to show her full range. There's some great drama, there's some great comedy, some great lines, the stuff with Parker, as I said, in Beer Bad, even though it's a terrible episode, I think that really shows how much the character has grown in that scene.
Absolutely.
And you do have those moments with Willow throughout the show, like those sort of great gotcha moments where she sort of outsmarts people, the way she outsmarts Sander in the pack in season 1. That's it. Where she calls his bluff. So you do have those really great moments. So Willow for me.
Great pick. And I think almost every character this season just is really actually quite strong. And so, picking an MVP I think just comes down to personal preference. Because I definitely agree with everything you're saying. Willow has a great arc this season. And like you said, the magic storyline is fantastic. The little seeds that they're starting to sow of, Willow using magic recklessly, which we will obviously see as the series continues. And like you said, just seeing her in her element in college. I mean, the Spurdy knowledge speech is one of my favorites. I absolutely love that. And, the fact that she is so comfortable on campus. And then, of course, her breakup with Oz and then her meeting Tara. That's a huge moment for her character and a huge arc. Season 4 was a surprise this watch, I have to say. I ended up liking it a lot more than I used to and found a lot more strength in it than I used to. So that was actually really fun to rewatch this season and see that it's actually not as bad as everyone remembers it.
Just let us know in the comments what you think, what would be some of your favourite episodes, some of your worst, and who would you have as character of the season. Let us know as always. Very soon we will be continuing on with season 5, so that should be another pretty epic discussion, so look out for that in the weeks to come. But Rachel, if you want to plug your channel.
Guys, you can follow me, Rachel McDonald, video essays on TV shows and movies. I do have quite a few Buffy videos on my channel if you want to come follow me for Buffy stuff. And my Tumblr is linked through my YouTube, and I spend way too much time on there. So Keith will put a link in the description, hopefully, for you guys to find me and come and follow me everywhere.
Okay, thanks, guys. Keep watching Buffy, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
It was a Monday when my lover told me never pay the reaper with love only. What could I say to you except I love you, and I'd give my life for yours. I know we are the lucky ones. I know we are the lucky ones. I know we are the lucky ones, dear. Remember the time we made love in the roses, and you took my picture in all sorts of poses. How can I ever get over you when I give my life for yours? I know we are the lucky ones. I know we are the We